How we doing, folks? Well, I'm back to sorting out this hi-fi now, so I did say I was going to do a few bits and pieces on it, as well as just replacing that fuse. Well, the fuse has arrived, and kind of annoyingly, the way things are gone these days, you can't buy stuff by just like that by just walking into a shop anymore. You have to buy it online, which means waiting. But anyway, it didn't take too long to arrive. Yeah, so what we want to do as well too is look at the volume knob. There is a servo motor on the back of it which responds to the remote control and turns the volume up and down there, and that's not working. So that's one thing to do. The other thing to do is to go around all the potentiometers and switches and just clean them up with a bit of deoxit. I have deoxit here. This stuff is absolutely fantastic. I really rate it very highly. It's the best of the switch cleaning lubricants you can get. So and I've tried a few of them, to be honest with you. The other one as well too, which I find very good, is Servisol Super 10, which is also widely available. The deoxit's expensive, but you know, when you don't want to have to be taking the lid back off your hi-fi again to do the same job in 6 months' time, you may as well buy the good stuff, and you know it does tend to stay right after you've done it. So anyway, so this is obviously the front of the hi-fi, the main part of it, and we're going to have a look inside here as well too. So there is the servo motor for the volume knob there. So we need to try and take that out, and yeah, hopefully it will be something simple at stopping it from moving. The other thing as well too is I'm going to pop that fuse in and we're going to test that all out. In addition to all of that, on the back of this is a speaker switch box. Now, when I tested the resistance of the speaker, that one of the speakers that I got with it, they were 8 ohms, and if you see down here, it actually says the limit is 6 to 16 ohms on the front. But the problem is if you're using 2 speakers in parallel, that drops the resistance down to 4 ohms. But what I need to find out is if this actually puts them in series instead of parallel, because if it does do that, then it'll be 16 ohms and within the limits that the amplifier can take, which is great. So I will put 2 speakers onto that, and I will actually I'll actually put a meter on it and see what we're getting. It would be great if it does work that way, because at least that solves that problem, and means I can use 4 speakers. Rodney in the background doesn't seem to agree. How dare somebody walk by the front of the house? Anyway, right, we'll continue on. Okay, so to take the volume knob off the front, first of all we need to take off this, well, I pulled the volume knob off already, so we'll just take off this little nut. Wasn't exactly very tight, so run that off. And put that aside. Yeah, looking at the back here, you can see there's a couple of different brackets. One of the brackets here is for the main circuit board, and then this one here, there is there's a screw down there, and that seems to be for the other side of this. Still battling a bit of a cough I've had recently, so you'll have to excuse the voice being intermittent. So let's get that out now. Yeah, it's coming out all right. I knew that was going to happen. Anyway, look, there we go. So it's kind of in a slot. So we retrieved the bit that I dropped down below. It's grand. Let's see how that goes back on now in a minute. Rather than just pulling at it and breaking something, I just want to find out why it's actually... Aha! The balance knob on the front. There you go. You can just see that there now. So I had to pull that off as well, so there we go. Yeah, okay, so get you guys into a better position so you can see what I'm actually doing. So let's see, here we have the, let's see now, here we have the circuit board, and on the back of the volume pot here is a little gearbox and a motor. So, anyway, first things first, let's spray a bit of deoxit in there. Just that will actually degrease it and clean everything up a little bit. And what I'll do then is I have some spray grease afterwards. I can put some in, put some back in again. It might be a case where it's just literally not working because the motor's not strong enough to turn through the gummed up grease that's in there. So we'll eliminate that as a potential cause of failure first of all. That's good. All right. Put the camera. Put the. Yeah. See, the volume knob has freed up a huge amount now already. So yeah, that's great. Okay. So I have a funny feeling that's actually going to have solved that problem already. So let's see. Now we're going to just spray. So we see where the circuit board goes up into the back of the switch here, into the volume pot. That's where we're going to spray our deoxit. Okay. So and we'll turn it through a few cycles. So that's going to do a nice job of cleaning that. Actually, the volume pot wasn't noisy on this, but it's you know, while the amp is open, we may as well clean it. So that's that done. Now we're going to do the balance pot, which is here, pan pot as they call it sometimes as well, or a panoramic potentiometer. One of those electric components that has a very nice name, panoramic potentiometer. I have to stop putting the can in front of the camera. You know, the guys who are doing these YouTube videos all the time are an awful lot more experienced than me, and would never dream of doing something like that. For me, I'm actually just trying to figure it all out. So that's that actually feels freer as well too. So I'd say they were a bit gummed up as well too. Now I'm happy enough with that. Okay, so what I'm going to do before I put everything back together again is I'm going to plug it in, and I'm going to get the remote control, and I'm going to try it out, and we're going to see if that actually has solved the problem. So let's do that. Okay, so the great thing about working on electronics is the fact that you can kind of do it at your kitchen table, and you know, it's nice and handy in that respect, and it's also clean work. The other thing as well too, life must go on. The little man needs to be fed, so he's lining himself up. My wife is over there preparing the food, and the dog is mooching, of course. So yeah, family life is what it is. So anyway, what I have here is the multimeter set up on the motor, okay. And when I actually move the volume, try to move the volume knob, you'll see it goes up to around 4.5 volts or minus 4.5 volts, but the motor itself is not moving. So I would suggest that the motor itself is not working. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the motor off, and we're going to actually have a look at that and see. Because the reason I'm kind of determined to fix this is because without this motor, your remote control isn't going to control the volume, which will be a little bit annoying. And given the fact that the stereo actually has a motor and it has a remote control, we may as well get it working. So yeah. Anyway, I'll take the motor off and we'll have a look. Okay, so I have the little gearbox open for the motor here, and you can see that white nylon gear there is the one that's on the back of the volume knob. It runs on a worm gear, so that actually can't be back driven. There's actually a bit of slippage on the shaft in that, so that allows you to turn the volume knob independently of the worm gear. So that would mean that even if the motor was seized up and can't be turned, the volume knob can still be turned. So just because the volume knob is turning doesn't mean that we don't have a seized motor. So I need to take out that horizontal shaft there, because the motor itself has a worm gear on the end of it, so I can't back drive it to see if it's working either. And given the fact that it's getting power, it would suggest to me that the problem actually does lie with the motor. Well, it does lie with the motor, we know that. So I'm going to take that shaft out. I took a little clip off the side of that. That's that there, and yeah, we'll continue on and see if we can get that out. Okay, so now that I have the little horizontal shaft out, the noises you hear in the background, by the way, are my little man having his lunch. There you go. Ready break. I just had some for my breakfast as well too. It's very nice. Anyway, so back to the task at hand. If you look at the gear as I press the button, it's working. So that's great. So basically all that means is that this was what was actually the problem, and this was seized up. So that's a simple enough fix. If you actually look at the end of it, it looks pretty corroded. So we should be able to fix that fairly handy, which is great. Oh, there goes a little bearing after falling off now. But bit of grease on that, stick it all back together, and hopefully our volume knob will work. So yep, that's another success story. I still incidentally haven't put the fuse back in for the the left channel, so I could do all of this and find that the left channel still isn't working and the fuse blows as soon as I put it in. But anyway, I have to leave something for something as a surprise. You know, I can't spoil the ending now. So yeah. Anyway, we'll pop that back together now. I had to kind of bend the casing apart a little bit just to get that shaft out. But you know, it'll go back together again fine. So yeah. Right, so I have the little shaft back in place, and so that's working now. So that's step 2 of 3. So I just need to put that clip back on, and maybe that clip was actually causing it to seize up, but I still need to put it back on anyway to keep the shaft in place. And then afterwards we'll put this all back together again and bend over the little tabs here. That's what was actually holding the whole thing together. And then hopefully the volume knob will turn, which would be great. Okay, well this is back together now, and yeah, that's right on. So this is back together again, and you can see it's working. So fantastic. It turns nice and slowly, of course. You don't want it to, you don't want to give the volume button a little, tiny little pressing for it to shoot the volume way up. So yeah, so that's brilliant. Anyway, that's so we can put this all back together again, and the two pots are cleaned up and everything as well too, and the volume knob does turn independently of the motor as well. So yeah, that goes back in here. So you have your volume knob here and balance down there. We have success. The motor's a little bit notchy, but I'm not going to be too worried about that. I'd say that'll free up in a bit of time. So we run it through its full range of motion, make sure it's still working properly. You can hear the motor there, if you... a little bit notchy. I think that's just the gear moving left and right, the worm gear. So, I'm not going to worry too much about that. Brilliant. Okay, so that's that done. So next, I'm going to put some deoxit in all of these sliders here as well too. As I said, I've done those two main ones, and yeah, that should improve things as well too. And then we pop the fuse in and see how that goes. Okay, so now I have to try and find a way of getting that fuse down in there. They really couldn't have found a more awkward place to put that, you know. I mean, obviously, when they say no user serviceable parts inside and these type of things, it's just because of the fact that they just make it awkward for the user to service. But that's not going to stop me anyway. We'll get the fuse in. I'm going to just use a long nose pliers, pop it in with that, and then I want to just give the inside of it a bit of a dusting, because it's fairly dusty in here. You can see a little thin layer of dust all over these. These fuses all over the place in this actually. There's 2 in there, another 2 down there, another 2 over there, and those ones down to the left are the output fuses, of which one of them was gone obviously. So yeah, I'll get that put in and give it a dusting. Then the last thing to do is to check the impedance of this speaker switch box, and we'll know then whether or not we can use either 2 or 4 speakers. So yeah. Okay, so I have the my phone connected up there to the to the hi-fi on the video input, and 2 speakers connected. I tried the speaker switch box, and unfortunately what happens is when you put 2 speakers on at the same time, it drops the resistance to 4 ohms, and that's a good and a bad thing, because the good thing about it is that tells us why the fuse blew in the first place. So there's nothing else inherently wrong with the amplifier that I can tell. The bad thing is that we can only use 2 speakers with it and 2 surrounds. But what I could do is I could go down the route of getting a switch box that actually puts the speakers in series instead of parallel. Because if you connect 2 speakers in series, it doubles the impedance. If you connect them in parallel, it halves the impedance. So anyway, let's see how we get on here. I think the young lad's getting impatient there as well too, so okay. Well, they're both working anyway. We have success, folks. The music you're hearing is Defector's remix of Crockett's Theme. Doesn't sound half bad either, for that matter. I think a pair of 3-way speakers would sound better with it now, to be honest with you, but I mean, the 2 ways are not bad either. My dad has a stereo very similar to this, but it would be the kind of model up from it, and would have had 3-way speakers instead of 2 ways. And it would have had a digital graphic equalizer as well too. Give it a little bit of volume. And the last thing to do after this is to clean things out a little bit inside. I'm not going to go too mad on it, it's not that bad really. And put the lid back on and put it all back together. So, for €60 in a charity shop for this whole system, 4 of these speakers. So 4 of these speakers, a 6 CD changer, surround speakers, tuner, tape deck, turntable, that cabinet, and 4 speaker stands. €60. I mean, I couldn't walk away from it. It was a birthday present from my good lady wife. I came home and told her it was there. She gave me the money to go down and buy it. So eternally grateful. And now that it's working, I'm over the moon. A nice little restoration project, which cost me the sum total, including postage and packaging, of €4 for the fuses and a little bit of the deoxit I already had. Well, it's nothing if not impressive looking when you get it all back into its cabinet. It even comes with the manuals and everything as well too. Now I haven't got anything wired up yet, so you can have a look at one of my previous videos where I actually tested if you wanted to see it turned on. But yeah, so it's all set now anyway. I'm just gonna finish off the wiring on it, and yeah, I'm delighted with this now. That was definitely a massive victory. And a simple fix as well too, and we got that little volume knob fixed too, so it's a nice little touch. Don't forget to like and subscribe, folks, and if you have any questions, post them in the comments below, and I'll do my best to reply to them.